So here we are, Tigers, recording our podcast on domestic policy for Harry Truman. We'll get as much as I can. I apologize if my daughter sings a little bit, but there you go. So the economic issues that we talked about in class: demobilization, unemployment, what to do when the soldiers came home, women in the workforce, African Americans that are now in northern industrial areas, industry got to change back, and inflation is up now because prices are going to start to climb as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, issues we talked about: GI Bill of Rights. Okay, how do we start to spread these guys out all the way throughout? Zero down low interest home loans, go to the college of your choice, business loans, and we talked about the number of people, different degrees, things like that. This is a great benefit to people returning home from war. Okay, Truman's main points in his 21-point plan. Okay, public works project, full employment, higher minimum wage, larger Social Security system, national health insurance. Okay, of these five, the only thing that he can basically get done is this idea of a higher minimum wage. All right, so here we go back again. Okay, biggest issues was turning from the economy that we had before, from a planned economy, back to a free market economy, getting rid of price and wage controls, rationing, and those production targets that we had in place during the war. Okay, railway strikes, we talked about this. Steel, coal, auto, rail also were involved because of those things that went on. Once the price controls were removed, the prices skyrocketed. Like, for example, the price of meat doubled at this time, too. Truman threatened to draft people in the Army. That's how we solved that issue. Keynesian belief. The only way out of the Depression was to spend, spend, spend. Okay, deficit spending is okay. Employment Act also pushed the idea that the government's purpose is to encourage full employment. So anything they can do to create a job, right? What else? Emergency housing bill. Oh, go back. Emergency housing bill. Okay, May 2646. The government starts building homes for veterans because the supply of homes was not being matched by the market demand. Why was it needed? Because it just wasn't there. It benefits the economy because it creates jobs. So, Taft-Hartley. Okay, now you see the start of reaction back against this. Limiting the power of unions. Union officers must take non-communist oaths. Closed shop unions have to join the union for a job. Remember, it was passed over top of the Truman veto by a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress. Executive Order 9981. Remember the respect we talked about with regard to Truman, doing it in 48, right before the election. Equal opportunities for races, colors, and religions, and desegregates the U.S. Armed Forces. So, remember the South, very irritated and upset with regard to this executive action. Jackie Robinson, promoted to the first African-American baseball player in Major Leagues. Here's some of his stats. You don't need to know them for a test. Understand that he did start to change things in the better. In June of 1945, after we won the war in Europe, Truman's popularity rating was 87%. September of 46 was down to 32%. It's understandable with regard to the drop in the economy because of the switch over from wartime to peacetime. You've heard statements like, to err is Truman, we've had enough. And in November of 46, a midterm election year, Republicans gained both houses of Congress. That rotates us nicely into 48. Truman, Democrat. Dewey, here's our guy, Captain Creepy, the Republican. Strom Thurmond, the Dixiecrat, and Henry Wallace, Progressive. Okay, and you can see the reasons and importance of them throughout. Remember, early on in the polls, Truman was losing by a good 13 points. It's the biggest upset in history. Whistle-stop campaign, we talked about traveling around the nation, giving him hell. Reasons why Dewey defeats Truman. Truman attacked, Dewey never countered. African-Americans and other minorities voted for Truman, like Jews, like Latinos at that point, and the farmers remember FDR for during his help during the Great Depression. That was very relevant in the fact that 25% of the country were farmers at that point, and they all basically voted for him. There's a map of 48. You could see early on Dewey, and then Truman's all in red, and Thurmond gets a few states in the South. Okay, so we talked about Truman's fair deal in 49. To try and continue the liberal practice of FDR's idea. Increase minimum wage from 40 cents to 75, extend Social Security, repeal Taft-Hartley, and push forward with more New Deal legislation like the Tennessee Valley Authority to modernize different areas that were going on at the time. And slum clearance and mortgage help under the Federal Housing Act. Remember, not very successful because not many people were into it because of all those 16 years of Republican control. Permanent war economy, we've talked about how things moved up, research and development, all that time, cheap energy, and all that money we'd put away. All that money we'd put away. And through the Federal Housing Act, that mortgage helped create more homes at that time as well. Awesome. Okay, we talked about this role of communism and McCarthy and the Red Scare. So you start seeing these involvements throughout. Senator McCarthy, member, said, "In my hands I have a list of 205 members of the State Department that are communists." He founded the House on the American Affairs Committee. But here we go. Executive Order 9835, passed in 47. The first general loyalty program in the United States history allowed the FBI to run investigations over 3 million federal employees. If there was any reasonable connection between the individual and the communists, they'd be fired. So throughout that investigation of 3 million employees, they found 308 people they felt were risks, and they dismissed them. Remember, this is an executive order. Truman did this himself. Okay? We talked about the violation of the Smith Act. 4 million people that now had to register with the government because 11 communists were trying to overthrow the government by passing out leaflets in 1948. Also, people were forced to take loyalty oaths, such as the Pledge. The case of Alger Hiss we talked about today. He was a former State Department member and attaché to the UN. Hiss denied the fact that he was a communist and was charged with 2 counts of perjury. He was taken in front of the Housing on American Affairs Committee and attacked by Richard Nixon. Why there's an R there, I apologize. And he was found guilty and sentenced to, I should say, 5 years. I apologize. I should say 5 years. Let me change that real quick. Oh, why that says 10. It would be 5. Okay. Put that back up. Good. Okay. There's McCarthy again, as we talked about. All the things that went on there. Execution of the Rosenbergs. Accused of selling nuclear secrets, in 51. Remember, first peacetime execution at that time. McCarran we talked about today. Arrested and detained suspicious and questionable people. It's a background of the Patriot Act. Remember the elasticity of this law where you can do all these things. Never thought of before at that time. H-bomb is detonated in 52. 1,000 times more powerful than bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which the Soviets then detonated an H-bomb in 53. And then lastly, you start to see renovations in the White House because President Truman was sitting at the piano with his daughter when the grand piano started to fall through in the East Room of the White House. So with that being said, the White House had not been renovated since all the way back in the War of 1812. So look at the inside here, $5.4 million to renovate the whole darn thing. While the White House, was being renovated, Truman stayed over here in Blair House. You can tell it's a White House property because it's all white, all these red buildings. While there in November of 52, 2 Puerto Ricans won independence from the United States, so they shot at Truman as he was coming out. Killed 1 Secret Service agent. These guys were killed, and not an issue from that point. Lastly, the 22nd Amendment was passed, which basically says the president can have 2 full terms of 10 years max. Anything more than that, you will not be able to be president for that point. So it basically eliminates the possibility of FDR, a president like FDR, taking all that control again. I hope this was helpful. You guys take care. Go Tigers.